Oh, hi. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of video from the dungeon. Video from Ryback's dungeon, which I have been kidnapped in, and he's not going to let me out. So, figured while we're here, he's visiting me for like an hour. He gave me like slop and a dog food bowl to eat out of. And he said, you know what? I know you're probably bored. Let's make a rip-off, hack, horrible, fake Smart Busters video for everybody.
Hell yeah.
So today, why don't you tell the people what we're going to talk about?
It's a microphone in my face.
Yeah.
It's always recording audio. We're going to talk about, you remember wrestling, right?
Remember that thing called wrestling that we all used to watch and love?
Yeah. So we all know nowadays there's literally no reason to watch it. Everything's horrible, and there's absolutely no shot, no matter who's writing or who's watching, or there's just it's completely unenjoyable. It's not possible to enjoy it. However, there was a time when we started our channel back in the day where even though it was fucking god awful and retarded and very much unwatchable, one of the reasons why we were so angry about it was because there was like a glimmer of hope that it could be watchable. There were things on the show that you could conceivably perceive in a reality. Hey, this might have been good. Nowadays we don't have that at all. Like there's no shot that fucking Noam Dar and whoever the fuck who's on the show.
I don't
nowadays?
think Noam Dar is even there anymore.
Who's on the show nowadays? I don't even know.
Some of the big names that aren't like.
Like Cody Rhodes is like a main event guy with his bleach blonde hair. Like there's no shot that's ever going to be good. Back like 2011, 2013, 2015. Yeah,
we'll do it from like, let's just say 2011, because around the time like the pipe bomb happened, the Nexus debuted, and all of that. So we'll do we'll say 2011 to like 2015, because after 2016 that was when they did the brand split, and that was like when things really got fucked up and became a mess. So we'll focus on this like 4-year period of 2011 to 2015.
Where you had a shot.
And that's basically around the same time I would say like the Attitude Era lasted, what, 90?
Well, they say 97 to 01.
97 to 01, so about the same, for a 4-year block. So we're going to call this the lost era of World Wrestling Entertainment.
Whoa!
That's what we're calling this. This is actually a conversation that we've had like so many times together.
When I come down to the dungeon to give her a whooping.
Yeah, every single time we come down here, because like the only thing we have in common together is wrestling. So we've had like so many different conversations about this kind of hypothetical lost era of wrestling. And I have pages and pages, people. Pages and pages worth of notes that I wrote on this pen. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got like a friendly squirrel on it.
And she got this notebook at a store that she's obsessed with for some reason, even though every time we go there, it's all just old people, and she's the youngest person there, and she just loves being there.
That's like on like the one day a week you let me out.
Oh, look, they have makeup wipes and an aisle of Tupperware, and I never buy anything, but it's okay.
Okay, alright, that's enough. Alright, so I got pages and pages worth of notes. He's lazy and just took notes on his phone.
I didn't even take notes, I just wrote talking points.
Well, I kind of did the same thing. Well, just, little notes.
Alright, well, the first thing that we have...
Proof that I did it, people. Proof that I'm not a lazy and unfit worker, and I don't get gassed easily, okay?
I'm extremely gassy right now, by the way.
Okay, so why don't we talk about, so this era started in 2011, we would say, right? This kind of lost era thing. Let's talk about maybe what was happening before that in like 2009 to 2011 where WWE's product was
there was one thing, it was Cena Orton. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, Cena and Orton just together forever. Hello. What if I kicked you down the stairs, But there was pretty much like a lot of the wrestlers that you liked growing up were leaving, or like Undertaker, they were just like cutting it down way.
And there was nothing exciting happening in the realm of new people, really. Who was like Evan Bourne?
Yeah, I was gonna say Evan Bourne.
Kofi Kingston, like nothing. There was no.
Boom.
There was not a whole lot happening.
Like there's people you could pretend that you cared about, like Vladimir Kozlov, that they tried to like tell you was big time and just no one cared.
Or Sylvester Terkay.
That's like...
That was a lot before
that. Yeah, that was when wrestling was actually still good.
Same genre of wrestler, I guess.
So yeah, just the product was just getting so watered down and stale. They were finding people like Batista for blading, all this stupid shit. The Muppets on Raw, which I actually like the Muppets, but not for... I mean, that's probably the least bad thing that happened in the PG era. But anyway.
Who is Jeremy Piven? Like, what did he do before? What did he do after?
He's like Maria Menounos. I don't know what the fuck he does outside of wrestling.
Well, at least he doesn't show up on those gas station screens. Every time you go get gas, it's like, hi everyone, Maria Menounos here.
You know Maria Menounos had a match at WrestleMania, right?
I sure do.
With Kelly and Eve and Beth. I don't know why, but...
Chalk it all up to diva shit, bro.
Okay, so yeah, we're at this point where wrestling has become stale. A lot of wrestlers you like are leaving, or they're cutting their schedules way back, like Undertaker, Triple H, etc., right?
Wade, Shawn Michaels.
R.I.P. Charlie, that was a tribute to Charlie right there. We love you, Charlie. Okay, so... Well, let's talk about the glimmers of hope that started coming up around 2011. So we had CM Punk with the pipe bomb and the Nexus debuting around 2011, 2010-ish.
Well, the thing with the CM Punk pipe bomb, now we all know that that was ass. And we all know that...
But at the time,
we all know that it wasn't what the fans wanted it to be. But what our suggestion here is that you could have used that, not even so much to elevate CM Punk, but you could have used that to do the vaunted Cena heel turn in the proper way, where instead of him coming out and going, I'm mad at the fans, you never loved me.
And that's like the typical hack bullshit people would say should his heel turn.
You could have had him be the same guy, just company, good guy, CM Punk, man, I want this, man, I want that, and just present it differently. You know, like when Bret Hart...
At that time... Oh, sorry, I don't
When Bret Hart turned heel, he didn't really change his personality. He was the same bitchy, fucking bland Bret Hart, but they just presented it in a different way. That's how you do a real heel turn, where the person doesn't become a different person. You just present him differently. So you could have done the Cena heel turn real, and that right away makes the show infinitely more interesting than just having a because from that point until we stopped making videos and up until the fake retirement tour that just happened, Cena was the same boring guy. Nobody liked him. People can pretend like the whole audience loves him now. It's because everybody who doesn't like him stopped watching.
I tip my hat and put some change in it for you, Jack. I don't know. But like around this time too, Cena was kind of fucking obnoxious. Remember, like Rey Mysterio won the title, and Cena was like, "I want it."
I want it. Like, you could have done that same bit, but like had Cena be the heel instead of the guy we're all supposed to root for.
Yeah.
I don't know. You didn't have to change John Cena. They could go, "I'm a bad guy." Could have been the same John Cena, but because of the pipe bomb and all the implications of that, used him to be.
Just frame his character's personality traits that were already there in a different light.
Speaking of top heels, in this era that we are speaking of, 2011 to 20 whatever.
2015. Well, we'll put it there, 2011 to 2015.
You had Brock Lesnar end the streak. Now,
which like actually shocked the world.
Now we were defenders of this decision because we understood the implication of having this big monster end the streak. It's like, wow, now you have this amazing heel. Anybody who eventually beats him is going to be like the guy. Problem with that is, as far as I recall, did anybody ever have like the big match against him where they just beat him, or did he just always win and then just leave the show for months and years?
Lesnar?
Yeah, like he had the big match with Roman and then Seth Rollins interfered.
Didn't McIntyre beat him?
Well, this is years later.
Okay, I was gonna say.
And at the time when there was still heat around the streak, nobody ever really got comeuppance on Lesnar and got.
I mean, I'm not saying he should have won, because obviously this was to avenge what had happened the year or two before, but like he beat the fuck out of Cena like a few months later at SummerSlam, so really nobody ever came.
Brock Lesnar never got comeuppance, and I understand scheduling and all that, he doesn't want to be on the show every week, whatever, but have someone beat him at WrestleMania instead of having Seth Rollins cash in his Money in the Bank and usher in one of the worst fucking eras in wrestling history.
Well, we'll talk about that too, about how they had a lot of these great up-and-comers coming out of, I'll say FCW and NXT, I know they're kind of the same thing, but FCW and NXT, they actually, I mean, NXT...
Why are you holding this up like you're in a lotto commercial? You're like, the New York Lottery is now $55 million! That's $55 million!
Because here's the tea, guys. I'm talentless and can't talk without reading off the script.
You're not even reading what you wrote.
Okay, so let's talk about how they ruined these characters. So you had all these characters who were coming out, the wrestlers, coming up from NXT and FCW, whatever the fuck you want to call it, OVW, I don't know, DSW, LMNOP, ABC. Okay, anyway, they had people who were actually had, in our opinion, had talent.
You had the Shield!
Had promise. So let's talk about some of them and how they were fucking ruined, because you just talked about Rollins.
Yeah, well, so you had the Shield, right? As Charlie would say, the Shield, who obviously has been, I mean, keep in mind this is all with the benefit of hindsight as well.
And the Shield was the most exciting thing happening in wrestling
obviously,
around the time they debuted, in my opinion.
Obviously this group, the whole was greater than the sum of the parts. Like, we all know Rollins and Dean Ambrose have no business being on a wrestling show by themselves. They're fucking valueless, garbage, can't cut promos, stink, are boring, uninteresting, gay. You can...
A testament to how bad Ambrose is, just think about how badly that one interview with Steve Austin sunk him.
That was it.
That one interview, not multiple interviews where he made an ass of himself, one interview.
Now you put these guys in a group and everybody loves them. They're really cool. WWE has this problem where they just try to blow their wad constantly, and anytime there's a group or a tag team or anything, they think, well, how can we break them up? Did you have to break up the
And they weren't, like, they should have been around so much longer, because what, they debuted in, like, late 2012?
I'm terrible at dates.
And they broke up, what, like the spring of 2015 or 2014?
I think it was 14, but don't ask me. Bottom line is, did you have to break them up?
Because back in the day, tag teams didn't break up this quickly. A lot of tag teams would be together
A lot of tag
forever
teams
and
never
ever
broke
and ever.
up. Yeah.
Like, I can think of a few different examples. The Road Warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were together forever and ever. Like, there's a lot of examples of that. You don't
And like
have
sometimes
to...
tag teams go their separate ways without having the big breakup.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, we talked about this at the time. Rollins and Ambrose had zero chemistry. There was no reason to start some kind of gay cornball feud between them. If you have to break up this group that nobody's asking you to break up, you can at least do it amicably so that you don't ruin all three of them. Because it was oh my God, they were the best guys on the show.
Ambrose was your favorite wrestler.
It was yours too.
On the roster for a time.
And now, like, the way they booked all of that, they had the big triple threat that was supposed to be this huge WrestleMania main event at a battleground, and nobody even remembers that it happened.
And nobody was hyped for that happening anyway after they already ruined them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, and you know, you're never gonna recapture that magic again.
The Shield could have been mainstays on your show for a long, long time. Babyface or heel, they worked both ways. They were cool, they were unique, they came in through the crowd, they had the last Jim Johnston theme song, they were fantastic. They found a way to ruin that as quickly as possible. The inverse of that is the Wyatt family. You had 3 and sometimes 4 massive guys. They were like the last guys I remember who had like intro vignettes, like building up their character.
Yeah.
And Lefty and I were actually very excited for them seeing the vignettes because like, wow, this is character, this is something interesting. Well, you could have had a legitimate heel group with a guy, Bray Wyatt, who was good in the ring, I guess functionally good on the microphone, and that he could cut a promo without stuttering. We didn't know at the time all of his promos were meaningless, but if you had a real creative force behind him, you could have given meaning to his promos. Have him actually win. Undertaker's on your roster, the streak's over, he's winding down, you need a new replacement for him. Was there any conceivable reason why Bray Wyatt couldn't have been the guy to replace Undertaker on the roster in that spot?
And is there any conceivable reason why he had to lose to John Cena?
No, zero. None.
That was like well...
Well, in our scenario, where John Cena is a heel during all of this, they wouldn't have even crossed paths.
No, he would have been feuding with somebody else.
Yeah. Bray Wyatt could have been free to be built up as like the monster on the show. And like, how do you fuck up? You have Luke Harper, who's a guy that size who could do the things he could physically. Eric Rowan's a monster. I know he's not as mobile as Luke Harper, but you don't need your monster.
But he's like a spectacle
And
loser.
fucking Braun Strowman is like, how do you look at him on a wrestling show and go, you know what we're gonna do with him? Nothing. Like,
oh no, they made him the choo-choo train.
you had an opportunity with the Wyatt family. Their character was ambiguous enough to where you could have them try to like abduct people into their group. You could have had the Wyatt family be a huge thing, a big storyline where this cult is taking over WWE. Who's going to stop them? Is it going to be the Shield? Is Brock Lesnar, now that he's this big force, is he going to get thrown against them? You could literally do anything, and instead they did nothing. They just had them lose every
match. But not
match.
only that, they did the worst that they possibly could, because it wasn't just that they lost their feud to Cena, they lost every feud
to nobody.
Afterwards, yeah.
I think fucking
Jericho.
Who was the only person they won against? Dean Ambrose?
I think so, because they had the feud with Jericho, they lost the feud with Jericho. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of some more. Orton, I think they lose the feud with Orton.
They lost the feud to fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Literally everybody except for fucking Dean Ambrose. Now, we built up this heel group. We've got the Shield, they're kind of tweeners. We got Brock Lesnar as a super heel. We've got John Cena as a superhero. Who's our babyface in this era? It's a man by the name of Ryan Reeves, Skip Sheffield. How do you fuck up Ryback?
You might know him as Ryback.
How do you fuck up? I know it's like the cool in vogue thing with the 20,000 people who still watch wrestling to say Ryback is trash and has nothing to add to a wrestling show. Number one, just looking at him, all Ryback could be is a professional wrestler. If you look at him, he just is a wrestler. All of his promos were great. He had a cool moveset, great theme song, cool
Great
entrance,
character work.
a catchphrase. He made shit work. He made being on the pre-show funny. He made a throwaway probably punishment tag team with Curtis Axel, funny and interesting. Ryback was like the guy. He could have been like obviously the next Goldberg. But he's the obvious choice for the big babyface on your show.
He could have been a personality that transcended wrestling. He has the likability, the charismatic personality to transcend wrestling in the same way as someone like The Rock could have, or Hulk Hogan could have.
And like the pieces are right there. We have a million heels. We got a cool tweener group. We got the obvious wrestling babyface named Ryback. And
they're all young and they're all up and comers and they weren't stale yet.
Yeah, I mean, fucking now. Keep in mind, this is, even though shit was retarded and awful back then, it wasn't as retarded as it is now, where all the guys who were coming up were like in their early 40s or late 30s. Yeah. These guys were actually young back then. You could have had a sustained era. I'm not saying attitude era. I'm not even saying ruthless aggression era. I'm just saying of watchable television that feels like a wrestling show.
You could have had a good era, a good run of wrestling that was entertaining, that had people you liked on the show.
That at the very
that
least,
right.
At the very least, feels like a wrestling show and not like a gay anime.
And you want to talk about like all the people who were still there from the past eras that were still on the roster at the time.
Well, yeah, I got a list here.
I have my list as well. So
we got Undertaker is still there, Kane, Triple H, Batista came back, Shane came back, Kurt Angle came back,
Jericho.
Chris Jericho came back, Edge came back, Big Show was still hanging around, the New Age Outlaws came back, RVD, the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys.
Even some jobbers like R-Truth were still around. That could make shit funny.
You could have had, well, R-Truth should have been a heel. We all under the comedy R-Truth stinks. R-Truth could have been a legitimate upper mid-card scary black guy heel. That would have been better than just But you have built-in storylines here of these guys' farewells and final matches and everything. Half of these guys didn't get anything. Kane was running around in a suit selling popcorn backstage.
Big Show, I said in my last video, he's like the worst booked wrestler of all time, especially towards the end.
Big Show was constantly switching between heel and babyface and crying, and he didn't even get a farewell. He just left to go to AEW.
Because for some reason they thought he could act, I guess. I really don't. I still don't understand that. I really don't.
Well, the Big Show was a huge success. So
I don't
he can't
think
act.
it was.
Chris Jericho didn't do anything. He just left to go to AEW. RVD just vanished. The Hardy Boys just vanished. Well, Jeff Hardy bought that. Bottom line is you had a bunch of legends coming back that you didn't do anything with. Who the fuck?
You had Rhino too. Rhino was in NXT. Come on, Rhino's fucking cool.
You had two things that nobody ever thought would happen. You had Kurt Angle and Edge come back, and we did nothing with them.
No, but they made Kurt Angle the GM, and he said it's true over and over again, and booked matches.
Speaking of GMs, you have two charismatic guys on your payroll at this time, tailor-made for heel authority roles that one you saddled on commentary to ignore the fuck out of everyone for a lifetime. The other one had some vague backstage role, and I think he was also doing commentary in NXT. You could have used either JBL or William Regal as GMs. Because in this whole era, who's the GM? It was those horrible fucking god-awful Triple H promos starting off every week.
Every single week, you had Triple H and Stephanie with her disgusting voice.
Triple H, first of all, he's not an authority figure. Second of all, when you're a legend at that status, that late in your career, like, I'm sorry, people don't want to fucking boo you. Okay, so Triple H could have been in like a Twilight transitional, get him out of the active wrestling run. Maybe have a final match. Maybe have Lesnar get his comeuppance for fucking Triple H beating him in their feud for some reason and retire Triple H.
Yeah, could have had like such a good final feud, and they didn't do it. And they just didn't do it. Instead, every single week on Raw, we were treated to bow down, and then Stephanie, Daniel Bryan.
That song, Bow Down to the King song,
Big Show,
burnt into my brain and it just makes me sick.
Big Show.
But fucking,
you need to cry for these people because you can't feed your family. Like, that was every single fucking week with these authority shit.
I love Dusty Rhodes, though. You remember that story?
Oh, yeah.
Dusty's eyes were like a 5 and
like, since fucking when?
But, like, why wasn't JBL your heel general manager? Why was he sitting on commentary?
And he's such a great character, too, and they just did nothing with him.
JBL was just being retarded on commentary, and it's just a waste of his immense talent.
Because the GM is supposed to do more than just say, this guy wants to fight, that guy wants to fight, we'll put him in a match.
You also could have had in this era stacked this notebook down. The New York Lottery is that. You could have had a stacked mid-card. Ow! A stacked upper mid-card of, well, for starters, this fucking wrote itself. Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter versus Rusev and Lana.
Which, that was that feud was so hot at the time, And it ended in count out, didn't it? Like they just didn't.
The big pay-per-view match that there was the great build-up. The crowd was super into it. You can't tell me everyone likes to pretend he's just god awful, and to be fair, he's not that great. But you can't tell me Jack Swagger and Zed Holder weren't super over at the time.
And they were getting attention outside of the wrestling bubble.
Yep.
Like with Alex Jones was covering them, Glenn Beck was covering them. Like their gimmick was actually getting attention outside of wrestling.
So you have the big blow up of the America versus Russia feud at a pay-per-view. It ends in count out and it's never brought up again. And Jack Swagger's gone shortly after that.
And then what do they do to Rusev? The whole shit with Ziggler and Lana and Summer Rae.
Yeah. You have this character that you built up as a heel. You have Lana there. Everybody likes her. She's good on the mic. You have actual stuff going on in the news at the time.
An actual topical gimmick.
With Russia. You don't mention any of that.
This isn't like that guy Ludwig Borga, who's just like a Finnish nationalist and doesn't make any sense going up against Lex Luger. It's actually made sense, people.
But no, let's not do anything. Let's literally just do nothing with this. Tying into that, you have Cesaro, who we were huge fans of before they decided to consciously ruin his character by giving him a smoking jacket, making him a Paul Heyman guy, and having him rip his own pants off.
Yeah, and also he was in a tag team with Tyson Kidd.
Notice how Paul Heyman's not factoring into any of this shit, by the way, because he really doesn't add a lot to the show.
I'm a Paul Heyman apologist. He's not. He's sick of Paul Heyman. I'm still Heyman. If you're watching this, because I know you watch all my videos. The Trapster still likes you. The Reister is a fraud.
But Cesaro, like, I understand he's not a character guy. He's not a promo guy.
But he looked cool and he did cool shit in the ring.
Yeah, with the Zed Coulter connection, you could have this guy cutting promos for him. You have this amazing force of nature who's like naturally strong, not steroids strong, who can do amazing things for you. How do you not do anything with that? He's another guy who they just had to lose every match.
And when they took him away from Coulter, they replaced. He came out with the ripping off the pants.
With Tyson Kidd.
Like the fires, like the thunder, not thunderstorm, the tornado warning theme song.
He started doing the stupid swing instead of all the cool moves he used to do.
And they just turned him into he literally turned him into a joke.
Yep.
Pretty much it's just a joke character, another joke character on the show just to do goofy shit.
Now, is that ineptitude or is that them purposely ruining the show? I don't understand.
That's the question I would love to ask is like, how did they manage to fuck all these, they had so much going on, and how did they manage to fuck it all up?
Here's one that we know they ruined on purpose because they've said it. Bad News Barrett was super over. That's a character that can work as a heel or a babyface. That's a good upper mid-card guy to have. I'm not saying Wade Barrett was great, but this character was great. Oozed charisma. It was hilarious, and they just said, we'll make him king of the ring and then fire him.
And they did that because they didn't like that he was getting a good reaction as a heel. From what I've understood.
Which is just so fucking retarded. I understand business-wise, if he gets too over and we didn't factor that in, then we got to pay him more, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what do you want?
But also,
do you want stars or not?
And also, you're going to sell more tickets to your shows. You're going to sell more merchandise because people like this character.
Yeah, I don't think King Barrett was fucking unloading truckloads of merchandise. But Bad News Barrett was hilarious. People still talk about it. And it was only, how long was that even going on for? A couple months?
Yeah, not even a year. Not even a year, I don't think. That was a great gimmick.
Why didn't you do anything with that? You had a chance there. This whole video is about how, even though none of this shit ended up panning out, there was a chance. If you just put in 10% of the effort that you did to have at least, I'm not saying it would have been great, I'm not saying it would have been ruthless aggression or attitude, I'm saying you could have had a watchable wrestling show that was a breath of fresh air from the Cena Orton era.
Yeah, it didn't have to. I'm not saying it would have been like epic and amazing and it would have been like the next Golden Era or anything, but it could have been something that was actually good. It was actually an interesting wrestling product. And we just got bullshit instead. And then the final nail in the coffin in my eyes was the brand split to all this stuff because that just fucked everything up.
You just didn't have a roster big enough for that. But here's a case in point. With a little bit of effort, you could take guys that aren't even that good and do something with them.
Like Curtis Axel, he's a guy, he's not good, he doesn't particularly excel at any particular discipline. He's not particularly charismatic. He's not good on promos. He's not amazing in the ring. He doesn't look cool.
He doesn't have a look at all. But you could have had this guy, this just kind of schlubby dude. He's the son of Mr. Perfect. So that right there is an interesting little storyline nugget where you have a guy who's literally perfect, kind of a fake legend in the business because he's not that great. But you have a guy who's a fake legend in the business, and his son is just kind of this schlubby little dork. And then you have...
And you could have made him likable.
Yeah, if you played that up, you could do something with it. You've got this schlubby guy named Curtis Axel, who used to be Michael McGillicuddy, maybe bring that up. Like, bro, you saddled me with the name Michael McGillicuddy. You expect me to get over? Do something with that. Juxtapose that with a guy who's kind of similar look-wise, but who has kind of a paint-by-numbers wrestling gimmick, Damien Sandow. We're not saying Damien Sandow's a legendary heel, but he had a heel gimmick. He could cut a decent enough promo. You can't make a mid-card feud between these two guys where Damien Sandow's like, oh, I'm perfect. I'm the intellectual elite. I'm the Intercontinental Champion. And have poor fucking Curtis Axel going, I'm a schlub. I used to be Michael McGillicuddy. I'm here now. The Intercontinental title's the belt my dad made famous. Have a little mid-card feud. Do something. Get this little bastard a shot. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he could prove everyone wrong.
No, but then, he had to become a social outcast, and
Yeah.
Damien Sandow had to become Damien Mizdow.
Yeah, instead of doing something, literally do the worst fucking thing possible. Because Curtis Axel was yet another guy who got saddled with the gimmick where he comes out impersonating wrestlers. Whenever they don't know what to do with someone, they either give them a dancing gimmick, put them in a rip-off of the oddities, or have them come out dressed like a different wrestler every week. It's retarded. You had a shot. And again, no one's saying Curtis Axel versus Damien Sandow is going to set ratings records. It would have been something on the show instead of nothing.
It could have been an entertaining mid-card feud where you had a person you wanted to win, you wanted to root for. Someone who was actually likable against a guy who maybe you love to hate.
Yeah.
Which is the classic wrestling feud that they just, somehow, they managed to fuck up two guys who should have been an okay thing.
And like, if you do something like that, even if it's just one storyline and it works, the fans are going to remember the feeling that they had watching the storyline. So even if Curtis Axel starts getting boring and not doing anything, it's like, I've seen him in a storyline. I like him because of that. There's always going to be the fan connection there. Just a little bit of effort could go so long. I always think about this with baseball too. It's like, when you fuck up a creative for a wrestler, or when you fuck up bringing up a prospect in baseball and they get sent down, up and down a bunch of times and then just get released, it's like, for the fan watching and for the team, it's like, whatever, this player's gone. But like, that's this person's life. And like, Bray Wyatt's a good example. That was his career. They put no effort into anything. Like, this guy, his dad was a wrestler. He was on the show. He probably had dreams of what he wanted to do and how he wanted to be remembered. That was his career.
And he had
now he's gone. Now he's dead. And like, that was it for Bray Wyatt.
And the same thing is that literally one half of the Wyatt family is gone forever now. Luke Harper's gone forever too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that was it. Like,
that was it.
They could have been something, at the very least, decent, and they turned it into a joke.
And it doesn't have to be as extreme as them dying like that dude. Curtis Axel, like, that was his career. The son of Mr. Perfect was on the show. They did nothing with him. Now he's gone. That was his career. Goodbye. Because they didn't decide. They made the conscious decision, or they're just retarded. They didn't put any effort into this.
It makes me sad that like Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt, literally, they will never get a chance again.
Yeah, and we trash them a lot. Half the time we're trashing people on the show, by the way. We're trashing the show, not necessarily.
Not the person, because a lot of these people actually do have talent.
Because we acknowledge Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt were great.
Yeah,
but their careers sucked because they decided to not put any effort in. Now, you had a great, this is pretty fun too. This era had potentially the greatest lineup of potential jobbers in history between, I got a list here, Bo Dallas, Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Fandango, and the three-man band. That is a hilarious lineup of jobbers. Half of them.
You can't tell me that you don't think that you didn't enjoy watching 3MB.
3MB were fucking awesome.
They were hilarious.
Coming out fucking air guitaring, that shit's
And
brilliant.
even if it was just Heath Slater doing it, he was funny, you know?
You can't tell me that Daniel Bryan would have been better served coming out, saying yes like a lunatic, and then getting his fucking ass handed to him. You can't tell me that if that was the trajectory of his career, that things would be worse off now than they ended up being, with him being the hood ornament of the company for 2 months before he.
Because what was the payoff of them pushing Daniel Bryan as hard as they did?
Literally nothing.
He had one world title defense against, was it Kane?
Yeah, then he jumped off a forklift.
And then he broke his neck and couldn't wrestle again. And then he became GM, and it was the most boring thing ever. That was the payoff to pushing Daniel Bryan over the other people that you had in the roster at the time. Even Batista, who was they say he was a part-timer in my opinion. He was doing house shows.
He had a full-time schedule. The reason he became part-time is because he was like, I'm doing this bullshit. And now look, because of what happened, now look at Batista. Look at him now. Look how he massacred my boy. And you can't tell me that putting multiple world titles on Dolph Ziggler did anything for the show. His value on the show is being a goofy fuck in a pink diaper named Dolph Ziggler, who it's fun to watch get beaten up.
And the thing with Ziggler too is like he kind of like psyoped people into thinking that he was never given a chance when he had multiple. Like,
same thing with CM Punk.
At least 2 or 3 world title runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of like tricked everybody into thinking that he never got a chance.
And like anything you look up on Dolph Ziggler online, it's compilations of him getting his ass kicked. No one's looking up like zigzag compilation. People like Dolph Ziggler because it's fun to watch him get beaten up and flop like a fish. He should have been the jobber. He should have been the guy Ryback squashes every week.
He successfully managed to convince a small but very loyal group of people that he was this unsung hero of the company that never got a chance. And the same thing with Punk too, honestly. And that's a whole other thing. Punk is still there, sticking up the joints.
I think, going back to what we said at the beginning about the Cena heel turn, the pipe bomb, maybe you have Cena win that feud. Think of all the heat you put on Cena, because CM Punk winning did nothing for the show. I get the thing of him running into the crowd and all that, maybe you still do that because that was a pretty epic moment. But have Punk come back and the payoff is Cena fucking wins because the authority was behind
Literally
Cena.
rub it in, do the Cena wins LOL thing, but actually rub it in their face and make them
have him do the biggest FU in history where it's like 15 feet in the air. He pins him clean, 1, 2, 3, because the authority was behind him. Punk can fuck off and run out his contract. That's how you do the Cena heel turn. You don't have him do anything. You don't have him turn on the fans. You just have him beat their guy. Anyway. And Bo Dallas, obviously. Bo Leave is a great jobber killer. Have him come out with the fucking thing in his diaper and just get his ass.
But they were never consistent with him, I feel like.
No.
They just kind of grouped all those guys together in that
They're social
outcasts. Yeah, which for some reason Vince loves the idea of that kind of stable existing. I don't know why.
Maybe it was his friends group in school.
That was like the Oddities. He did the same thing with the Oddities.
And that weird stable with Natalia farting with
Ray Khali and Hornswoggle. Like just like shit like that. No one really knows why.
Last point I have on here is you had a halfway decent tag team division. You had the primetime players. Now, nobody likes Darren Young, obviously. But you had Titus, who we were both fans of. He had charisma. He had a cool moveset, even though he was apparently unsafe to work with. And you had fucking Abraham Obama Washington.
And somebody made a little joke, okay?
That guy was fucking hilarious. If you can't make money with that guy, ugh.
Oh, you know who else would have been a perfect jobber in this? That really kind of was Zack Ryder.
You just like him because woo woo woo. He reminds you of Jersey Shore and all the douchebags you had a crush on. But the primetime players with AW were money. You had we mentioned the Real Americans. What a winning tag team that is.
And even like
we're so cool.
And even like the not so great tag teams, you had like the Usos who are serviceable.
You could throw them in a match and lose. It's fine.
New Age Outlaws who are still there.
Yeah, Hardy Boys came back. Dudley Boys came back. You had. Now, I don't really understand to this day what the Ascension were supposed to be.
But they could have been There's no reason why they could have been serviceable.
There were two guys who looked like wrestlers. Again, put a fucking modicum of effort into making whatever their characters make sense, and you have a halfway decent group of tag teams to work with here. So it's not just all factions and singles guys. What else you got in your notes?
I was just going to say they somehow despite having all this, they still managed to fuck it all up.
And I've said this 15 times.
And my question is, why?
Yeah, was it lack of effort or was it lack of ability?
Like, forget about the yes movement that was going on at this time. Let's call it the why movement. Like,
and I want to bring this up because the Smart Busters are noted Triple H defenders. Obviously, his creative is objectively fucking abysmal.
Yeah, that's gonna get its own video on it, I think.
But
I'm gonna make a video about why he's terrible.
What could Triple H do with their current roster that's gonna make you or I want to watch this show? Whoever was doing creative back then is objectively worse because you had a lot to work with and you either chose to do nothing or you weren't good enough to do anything.
Or you just were lazy and just didn't care.
Triple H is working with fucking Sami Zayn and a bunch of 50-year-old guys, a bunch of guys from TNA.
A bunch of guys who are not going to be there forever.
Like, nothing that they do with this current group of... Literally nothing. Not one thing that they could do with any of these guys on the show is going to make me ever come back. So when they're making as much money as they are now, why would they bother, like, to put effort in? It's like, well, let's just keep a show going. We're making boatloads of money. Obviously, nothing's ever going to be good because look who the fucking wrestlers are. Now, unless you can prove to me Triple H was doing creative back then, alright, I'll give you some credence. But I'm not going to blame the current state of wrestling on Triple H. There's nothing to work with here. The current state of wrestling is the way it is because in this era, you built no stars. It was the John Cena is a great guy show. It was the let's push midgets like Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler show. It was the let's bring in a bunch of assholes from TNA and NXT instead of using returning legends like Edge, Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon to do actual things with. That's why the show sucks now, because this era was completely
and like
fucking botched.
and like the return on investment that they did get with the people they had back then, it's really kind of paltry. Like, you have Reigns, obviously he's not really around as much anymore, but I think there was a promo with him, I want to say it was him and Cody Rhodes when they were feuding. And Cody Rhodes actually said this, and it was actually true. He said, you're a 15-year experiment that only started paying off in year 8 or something like that. And there's truth to that, like, because they just kept fucking them up.
Like, Roman Reigns, you'd say, is a star from that era who was a late bloomer. Seth Rollins is like a fake star. He's like the only guy from that era who's still being used on the show.
Yeah.
Who's left?
Well, Finn Balor.
I'm not even counting those guys.
Well, because that's the thing. When they actually tried to give these people momentum, the people coming up from NXT, they chose like the worst people to do it with.
But at that point, once the NXT guys started coming up, that's what I'm talking about. Where it's like that's when the show lost any chance of being.
But you know what I mean? Like once they tried to do it, they picked the worst people to do it with, and it was too little, too late.
You didn't do anything with the people we're going to mention, but you're going to try Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. Like that's what I'm talking about. You can't do anything with those guys that's going to make the show good. You had a shot with the guys we just mentioned, and you chose to do nothing.
And it's just sad because these people, if they're not done with wrestling entirely, they're just floating around in AEW with the indies not getting.
Half of them are retired. Jack Swagger's retired.
Wade Barrett's doing commentary, he's retired.
Yeah, so you had a shot. Ryback's gone.
The Hardy Boys are just floating around in TNA still.
Yeah, W Boy's retired. Fucking Curtis Axel's gone. Sandow's gone.
Yeah, I think Sandow's retired.
Cesaro's at fucking AEW jerking off men. Like it's over.
Jericho's in AEW just being fat.
He's
like,
not in AEW.
Oh, he left
I think he's the
AEW.
highest branded free agent in the game.
How sad is it that the hottest free agent in wrestling right now is a 60-year-old fat man? And I love Jericho, but I'm just saying, like.
You had a shot to have a decent, even if it's not decent.
Edge is gonna die in AEW, breaking his neck.
You had a shot to have a show that felt like a wrestling show.
And
it's go. That'll never happen again. It's over.
never gonna happen. Those shit was like lightning in a bottle, and you're not gonna get it back. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off here? You want to do fuck Cody Rhodes?